I'm Dave Smith. Welcome to Lenox Eats. Today I'm at the Arrowhead Ales Brewing Company on Laraway Road, just east of Cedar by the Burkotts. I'm with one of the co-owners, Mike Bacon. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
Very well. I see we have two beers in front of us. What do we have?
What I'm drinking is our beer called Chocolate Coffin Creeper. It's a chocolate milk stout. The beer that you have is called FMLR. It's a triple IPA, brewed with Citra hops and Galaxy hops.
Oh, shall we toast before we start the interview?
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That is really good. It does have a lot of hops to it. It's got a very good flavor. So, Mike, how did you start out?
I started off home brewing, just like anybody else, just a pot in my garage. Slowly built it into a home brewing system that I couldn't contain anymore, and just found a passion to grow this into something bigger. And just between the things I had going on, my stars aligned for me, and I was able to put the food side together and the beer side together, and things just kind of worked out for me. Nice. Very lucky to be here.
And why New Lenox?
I'm a local. I live in Manhattan. I live right down Cedar, so nice and close. And I know that this area doesn't have something like this, and I respect good food, I respect good beer, and I respect good service. So our main goal is to just provide those three things for the community, and we're very family friendly, and we're just trying to pull off good food and good beer, and give this area something they haven't seen before.
Nice, nice. Now, your beer. Does your beer menu fluctuate throughout the year? Does it rotate?
Some things rotate. Some things stick around for most of the year. Our beer, Devil's Breakfast, is an Imperial Breakfast Stout, is here most of the time. An IPA called Evil Genius, or an IPA called Entry Level Snob. A Belgian whip beer called Evil Genius. Those are some of our beers that would stay amongst others. A beer that we have on tap right now is called Jive Turkey. It's more of a fall beer.
Okay.
It's kind of my play on a pumpkin beer, but it's actually a sweet potato ale.
Oh, nice.
We actually won some awards with that recently at the Pints and Pork Challenge in Manhattan.
Congratulations.
I'll have some winter beers that will come up here soon. But I do seasonals, I do regulars, and then some experimental beers too.
Now, like say your Jive Turkey, will that be back next year at the same time, or do you rotate those too?
Jive Turkey, I'm going to try and run each year between October and November.
Now, how much of a batch do you normally make?
Each batch of beer that I produce is about 200 to 225 gallons. So I'll get 10 to 12 half-barrel kegs per batch of beer.
Okay. And then your food, does your menu rotate too, or is it constant?
The menu that we have is here every day. You come in on a weekend, we do like chef specials on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. We also do different food specials Monday through Wednesday.
Now, is it a full menu or just sandwiches?
It's a full menu. We have appetizers, we have sandwiches, salads, pizzas, pastas, entrees, desserts.
Nice, nice. Do you pair up the beer with it, or is it just something that comes from recommendation?
We don't have specific beers that we pair with specific food right now. The beers change so regularly that it'd be hard to pair this one beer with this one item of food. So our servers and bartenders are trained to know if you want what you're looking for, they can definitely recommend something for you that would go well with your meal.
Now, do all the bartenders and servers taste the beers?
The ones that are of age, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
That's a nice plus on the job.
They're trained on every beer that we carry, yeah.
Now, you'd spoken earlier that yours is an Imperial Stout.
It's a milk stout.
It's not
Imperial.
Stout.
It's only 5%.
Okay, it's a milk stout. Mine's an IPA. Can you give just a quick idea of, tell everybody what the difference is?
Sure. Milk stout, typically the style guidelines would keep that in a lower alcohol range. It's an easy drinker. A milk stout uses lactose milk sugar. It's unfermentable to yeast, so it carries a sweetness over, doesn't ferment out, so that sweetness remains. It's also called a sweet stout.
Okay.
And I use a lot of cocoa powder in the boil for this one. Gives it a nice chocolatey flavor. Your triple IPA, that runs about 10.7%, so the alcohol content is pretty high. That's why we serve it in this smaller glass. But I use a boatload of hops in that beer, and it's very citrusy. It's kind of sweet, but it still carries that bitterness through. It's one of our most popular beers, for sure.
It's very good. Now, your Belgian wheats, that's just a regular wheat beer?
Our Evil Genius Belgian Wit is probably our biggest seller that we carry. It's a standard Belgian wit beer brewed with wheat, Pilsner malt, coriander, orange peel, and then each batch that comes out, we do a different version of a fruit sometimes. So this batch that we carry right now, I used 150 pounds of mango puree in this one. People seem to like it so far. So.
Okay. Now, will you change the fruit later on?
Yeah, we had the one before that was apricot.
Okay.
A couple years ago when I first started out, I was filling all these beers in bomber bottles. I was brewing at 350 Brewing Company in Tinley Park, and brewing, packaging, bottling, distributing all myself, all out of there. And the first batch of Evil Genius that came out of there was a kumquat version.
Oh, nice.
And it was an imperial version, so it was about 8.5% alcohol too.
Now, what's in between a milk stout and an imperial stout?
An imperial stout is a lot more roastier, and the alcohol content's definitely higher, and it carries a little bit more bitterness as well. A milk stout is a lower alcohol beer. It's sweeter. An imperial stout is going to have some bitterness to it, and the alcohol content's definitely going to be higher for sure. Yeah.
So, Mike, you have a very nice place here. What really do you offer? Do you offer private rooms or anything? Or
we have a private party room. It's actually the room that we're sitting in. It's in the brewery. People really seem to like coming in here and being close to where the magic happens. It seats about 30 people roughly. We've done rehearsal dinners. We've done bachelorette parties. We've done business meetings. It's definitely available for anybody that is interested. We also carry an outside patio that can seat about 60 people. Actually, this Saturday we're doing an entire wedding there, and it's all available to rent it out and full service. We carry a party menu for catering or however you want to do it. We can pretty much do anything you'd like, but we do have a menu for events like that. The dining room seats 135 people, full bar. We do wine, liquor, cocktails. We carry other people's beer here too. I want to have something for everybody.
Yeah.
But we definitely sell majority of our own beer brewed on site.
So, Mike, I seen you this summer at the concerts. I had a couple of your avocado rolls, enjoyed them quite much. They were very, very good. Is that representative of what your menu was here?
Yeah, we carry avocado rolls here all the time. I will actually try some later.
Okay.
The concert series was a lot of fun. It was a great way to get our name out there. We met a lot of people in town that didn't know that we had opened yet, and the food that we provided there, some things were just specialty made just for the concert, just to do something fun and different. Yeah. But some things are our mainstays. We did the avocado rolls, we did our pretzel nugs, and we did our cheese curds that sold like wildfire out there. And all those things are on hand at all times. We also did a couple specialty things that we don't carry on our menu, but they might be a special here and there.
But unfortunately, no beer.
We couldn't do beer.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't think I can make enough beer to keep up with the demand anyways. So.
No, they sell. I worked with the Lions on several times, chucking beer, and they sell a lot of beer.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to see your community involved too. I mean, that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, shall we go in and see what you got to eat?
Absolutely.
So this is where the magic happens. Run me through the process.
Okay, absolutely. We make a batch of beer. We get a shipment of grains. The grains come crushed, and I take these sacks of grain and I go up on top of my brew stand here, and it all starts in the mash tun.
Okay.
So in this vessel, I take water at a very specific temperature and a very specific amount, and I take my different recipe of grains I use, mix it all together, and we keep it there for an hour. So those grains that are cracked open releases the endosperm inside, and that water will dissolve the sugars out of that and convert it to a fermentable sugar. So it's just the right molecule of sugars that the yeast will eat it and leave the right amount of alcohol inside of it.
Okay.
So that's where your color comes from, that's where your sugar content comes from, and that's where a lot of your caramel sweetness comes from.
Now, does the sugar come from more, or sorry, the color, does it come more from the malt? How malted it is?
Yeah, we use specialty malts for that. So we use a caramel malt, we use chocolate malts, roasted barley, aromatic malts, and most of it is a base malt where you get most of your grains from.
And from here it goes.
From here, there's a false bottom here. So the grains stay on top. We drain the liquid from the bottom, and it pumps underneath through a series of pipes.
Okay.
Comes through the pump, and it enters our boil kettle. So,
now, what it says is what it is. It's a boil kettle.
Yeah. So essentially, It's just a ginormous pot. It holds about 250 gallons. And once we reach our volume, and I make sure my sugar content is right, we bring it to a boil, and then I add hops, starting at 60 minutes, and then all the way down to 0 minutes of the boil left. So the longer you boil hops, that's where you get your bitterness from.
Oh, okay.
The shorter amount of time that you boil hops is where you get your flavor and aroma hops from.
Oh, okay.
So a stout, I would typically throw hops in at the very beginning of the boil and hit a certain level of bitterness and call it a day and rely on the malt and the yeast to do its job. But an IPA, I add hops at very specific points through the boil, so I make sure I get a really good balance of bitterness, aroma, and flavor.
Now, the boil process is to pasteurize it, so it's nothing's in there that's going to hurt you?
Boiling it does absolutely pasteurize it, but it also releases those oils in the hops. So boiling the hops for longer will create a lot more bitterness, and then the shorter amount of time you boil them releases their flavor qualities.
And most time it's 60 minutes?
Traditional boils are 60 minutes. A lot of people do 90 minutes.
Okay.
Most of what I do is 60.
Okay. Does 90 make it better or anything, or just?
It's brewer to brewer.
Okay.
Honestly.
It's the magic.
Yeah.
It's how you work the magic.
Right. Everybody has their own recipes.
And from here it goes?
From here, it's boiling hot. We run it in a whirlpool, get it spinning quickly, and it takes all those hops and all that debris that's inside, and it forms a cone in the bottom. And then that allows us to pull the beer from the side, and we run it through our heat exchanger. So I will have cold water running through one side and the hot beer going through the other side, and it will come out of this vessel here into a fermenter at the right temperature that I can add the yeast to it, and it's not hot enough that the yeast will get killed off.
Okay.
And the yeast can wake up and start eating that sugar and do its job and make alcohol.
Now, how long does it normally stay in a fermenter?
Usually about 2 to 3 weeks. From the time I crush grains and boil the beer and put it in the tank, about 2 weeks later, we're poured in a glass.
Now from brewing, only in a small version, I noticed that they're conic shape on the bottom. That's because all the residue of the yeast fall down?
Right. After the yeast is done eating all the sugars, they have no more work to do, so they go back to sleep and they fall to the bottom. So that conical shape in the fermenter allows me to draw the yeast sediment from the bottom, and what I'm left with is the rest of the beer, and I can clarify it, I can add more hops if I need to, and then I can make it cold and carbonate it, and then we fill these kegs.
Now, the yeast, do you just discard it or can you reuse it?
We reuse some of the yeast. After you've used it so many times, it's really not good anymore, so we'll dump it down the drain, but typically I'll use it a few times. Sometimes it's a specialty yeast I won't use for a long time, so there's no sense in saving it. I'll just let it go.
Okay. Now, do you have something we can taste that's underway?
Absolutely. I have a Belgian Tripel about ready to be kegged right now.
Belgian Tripel. What exactly is a Belgian Tripel?
A Belgian Tripel is it's a Belgian style beer. It uses a Belgian high gravity Trappist yeast, and the alcohol content, usually the one that I make, runs about 9 or 10%. And this one I actually age with hibiscus tea leaves.
Ooh.
So it's a hibiscus Belgian Tripel. A Belgian beer has a lot of vanilla and clove, allspice things going on with it just by the yeast. So this is a great example of a beer that is predominantly yeast driven.
Okay.
You want to pull a sample?
Oh, please.
Sure. I always dump the first one. It's got a little bit of yeast in there.
Okay.
Here you go. Let you try this one. Yep. So this is still
It's still cloudy.
cloudy. It's still warm, and it's flat because there's still a little bit of fermentation going on. So I have to let it go a few more days, and then I can crash cool it, add a clarifier. It'll drop clear. Add the hibiscus, and then we can carbonate it and put it on tap.
Now, is this what it's going to taste like when it's a finished product?
This is very close to what it'll be like.
Except carbonated.
Right. And cold.
Cheers.
We serve cold beer here, by the way.
Oh yeah. Wow. Wow. That's it's flavorful. It's got a nice mouth feel. You can taste the hops. You can taste the wheat. That is, for being flat and warm, that is really good.
Thank you.
Now, where'd you learn how to do all this?
Like I said, I started at home, reading books, trial and error. Where I started brewing in Lockport, Arrowhead South townhomes.
Okay.
It's kind of where the name came from, was the townhomes I was living in. In my neighborhood, had a lot of guinea pigs that would come watch me brew a beer, and I always had beer on tap in the garage, so I would invite people over to try things and take notes from them, and just time after time just keep remaking beers and just keep myself immersed into the brewing community and make sure that I'm doing the same things that the big wigs are doing. So just kind of followed in their footsteps and just followed my passion and self-trained.
So this wasn't an overnight thing. This took you quite a while to do.
I started brewing about 6 years ago and went through the process quite quickly. I didn't start small at home. I started pretty big at home, but if you were at my house and saw what I was doing at home, it was home brewing but on steroids, and just fell in love with the whole thing from top to bottom.
Well, we can taste your passion.
Thank you.
It's unbelievable. Thank you. The beer is phenomenal. I cannot wait to try your food.
Thank you.
And with that, shall we sit down?
Absolutely.
That was fascinating. So, shall we eat? What's up first?
What's coming out first is our avocado rolls.
Ooh.
Definitely by far our highest selling appetizer.
Little sauce.
Yep. It's a spicy ranch. It's our house-made ranch with chipotle. The avocado roll is your classic wonton wrapper, kind of like what you would have at a Chinese place, an egg roll basically. But instead of the traditional egg roll ingredients, what we put in here is fresh avocados, tomatoes, cilantro, red onion. It's basically a chunky guacamole with pepper jack cheese and spicy ranch rolled up, deep fried, sliced on the bias, and laid out in this plate for you.
For the concert, it was good. Mm-hmm. Here, I have to say, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best things I've eaten in a very long time.
Thank you.
This is very, very good.
People love this.
I can see why.
For sure.
I can see why.
Thanks. All right.
And then next.
Up next is our pork belly Reuben.
Now, what makes this different than a regular Reuben?
What we have on here is thick sliced, crispy pork belly slices on top of a traditional Reuben. So it has your Thousand Island dressing that we make in-house. It has our sauerkraut that we do in-house, our corned beef, and we roast a pork belly in-house, slice it up, crisp it on the flat top, and put Swiss cheese on top on marbled rye. Comes with French fries and a pickle.
That is, you can see that is a meaty sandwich. This is probably, you've probably just made the best Reuben I've ever had. With that pork belly puts it over the top.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
It's a barbecued pork belly. It really takes it to the next level.
Yeah, this really does. This if you're looking for a Reuben, this is it by far. That's a good Reuben. And next?
Okay. And last but not least, off of our entree menu is our fish and chips.
Okay.
Quite honestly, it's a standard fish and chip. We take fresh cod. We batter it in a beer batter that we do in-house also, and deep fry it. It comes with our house-made tartar sauce and a side of our Arrowhead mixed vegetable. And it comes with potato chips instead of French fries. Just lighten it up a little bit.
I'll tell you what. Now, are the chips homemade too, or are they bought?
They're homemade chips. Absolutely.
Chips are crunchy. The breading on the cod is excellent. You guys did a good job. And a tartar sauce, unbelievable.
My favorite thing to do is add a little malt vinegar to this.
Ooh.
And just gives it a little bit of a tang. But we've had people from Britain come in here and tell us that these are the best fish and chips they've had.
I can see why.
We pride ourselves on these. Yeah.
That is an excellent.
It's one of our
entree.
highest sellers.
Excellent. Very, very, very good.
Thank you.
And then I guess for dessert, we're going to change it a little bit, and we're going to go with a tasting.
This is our flight of beers. We carry 12 different beers on tap. The beer flight for $10 comes with 4. The way I would taste this out to you would be starting with the lightest and going to the darkest.
Why?
You start lighter. It doesn't really overwhelm your palate. Doesn't leave too much of an aftertaste in your mouth, and you can kind of build up the flavors as you go.
And the first one is?
Okay, the first one we have here is Evil Genius. Evil Genius is our Belgian wheat beer, coriander, orange peel, a Belgian wheat yeast, and it also carries a whole bunch of mango puree in there.
You can really taste the coriander.
Yeah.
For a wheat beer, that is
It's
really,
a
really
classic part of the style.
good. And this one?
This is going to be our Weed Whacker. It's a 5% hoppy wheat pale ale. It's hopped with Citra hops and Amarillo hops. It's smooth, it's light, citrusy.
Yeah, it's very citrusy. That's for a guy who cuts a lot of grass. This is the kind of weed whacker I'd want to use.
Technically a wheat beer, but it's hoppy like a pale ale.
And next,
And then moving down the line, we have Jive Turkey.
that's the infamous Jive Turkey.
This is the infamous Jive Turkey. So my take on a pumpkin beer, but I used 60 pounds of sweet potatoes, 20 pounds of brown sugar, and a half a pound of pumpkin pie spice. And it's basically an English ale, like an English brown ale, but I tweaked it a little bit to be like a fall, autumn pumpkin spice beer.
I've had a lot of pumpkin spices, and a lot of times they're overwhelmingly pumpkiny. That is by far the best pumpkin spice, best pumpkin beer, or autumn beer, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever had. That is out of this world.
Thanks. Spent a lot of time getting it balanced.
And the next?
This is our flagship stout. It's called Devil's Breakfast. Pretty heavy on the coffee, heavy on the chocolate. It's about an 8.5% oatmeal stout.
Now it's dinner. Is that okay that I'm having breakfast?
I don't judge.
Oh yeah, that's heavily coffee. Really gives you a nice mouthfeel. It's a full body beer. That is definitely a good winter beer.
I actually have 200 gallons of this sitting in 6 bourbon barrels out in the restaurant right now,
In bourbon barrels?
waiting for a bottle release come February.
Now that'll be served in February?
We'll bottle it and we'll sell it and we'll have some on tap.
That'll be excellent. That'll be excellent.
But come in and get it 'cause it's going to go quick.
Yes, it is. Now, do you sell growlers too, or just?
We do growlers. Yeah, we do 32-ounce growlers and we do 64-ounce growlers. You can buy the growler and then fill it for the fill price and then come in whenever you want to and refill it. Or you can join our growler club, which actually saves you some money. If you fill it once a month, it's for free. You get a t-shirt, you get a pint glass, and you get the growler. And if you come in once a month and get your monthly fill, you wind up saving the cost of two different fills. So
For those who don't know, a growler is a container that you come in and you fill up and you take back home and enjoy at home.
that's right. Yep.
Well, Mike, let me tell you, by far, this is a wonderful experience. You have the beer making, the excellent food, wonderful company, good place. I really appreciate this. This was a wonderful time.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to have you.
And this is how New Lenox eats and drinks. Thank you.